Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavik. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a painter, an entrepreneur, paper hanger, restorationist, lover of homes, to answer any of your questions that you have regarding painting or the painting business. This is for homeowners, this is for pros alike. Anything you've ever wanted to ask a pro, this is the place to do it. During any of the conversation down below, you can type in any of your questions. It could be as simple as, what brush do you use for this? It could be as complicated as, how do I start an apprenticeship program and foster young people into our trades? So this is a forum for pros, for homeowners, for everybody to combine ideas and move them forward. So today I am in New Prague here. I just happen to be with one of my crews here, stopping in, doing a quick Ask a Painter. This is what we have going on today. I have 2 crews that I combined to finish a project out in the country today. They're in beautiful St. Benedict, Minnesota, where I own a farm out there. There is 2 of my senior apprentices working on this brick house, which I'll walk you through right over here. Quick. I have one guy who loaded up all the mobile washing stuff, and he's out washing a bunch of projects for us next week. So checking up on those, seeing how they're doing. And I was working on some door restoration projects, as I'm sure everybody's been following along here. And speaking of the door restoration projects, we will get to the PDCA contractor question of the week here in a second. It'll be just a bit here. I thought I would update you on some of my door restoration projects. I've been getting lots of good feedback about that stuff. Door restoration seems to be, wood door restoration still seems to be kind of a nook in the craw of a lot of contractors, because every door is different. You're dealing with wood where you can see imperfections, and you're dealing with fine finishes that are outside. So I'm hoping kind of opening the doors and showing you all my process that I've kind of developed over the last 10 or 20 years, that we can improve on it, you know, because what I do is not a perfect system. I put it out there so that I can get some feedback on it and that we can improve upon those. So I have a special treat for you guys early next week. There's going to be a special hashtag Nick Paints It. Anytime you guys want to see me use a product, a method, a certain thing like that, you can hashtag it and Nick Paints It, and I will come up with, if I have something on my job site here for you, I will do it for you. Next week, one of the more commented on videos that I've done is when I hand varnished a wood door laid flat with marine varnish. This time people were wondering, well, hey, it's too bad you don't know how to spray, it's too bad you've never it's too bad you don't understand this, because you're missing out. And I actually do spray a lot of my stuff. In fact, all my fine finishing in my shop is done with professional spray equipment. So I thought I would say, well, okay, I just put the door brushing out there because that's how I learned how to do it, and I don't really see a lot of people doing it anymore. This next week I will be doing a sprayed marine varnish, Epiphanis finish, very specialized finish, and I haven't decided whether to remove the door and do it, or do it in their house and show you how I kind of protect the house and things like that. So we'll see what the homeowner's up for, and I will go live with that next week. So look forward to that. I did put out that I was looking for some suggestions about door finishes that I wanted you guys to use, for me to use next week, and I got a lot of great feedback. 2 of them that I'm tracking down. A great friend of mine now, Dustin, from over in Vancouver, super young progressive painting contractor. He recommended that I find some sands in. One place in Minnesota that has it. I just happen to know the paint rep for that store up in Minneapolis, and we are tracking it down as we speak. The second one, Epiphanis, which is a super high-end, luxurious sailboat finish, which I have access to. And actually, it was only 10 minutes away from one of my door restoration projects. I skipped over to the sailboat store, and sorry, homeowners leaving here, sailboat store, and I picked up some. So look forward to that next week. I'm going to walk you through my job site real quick here. We'll take a look-see. If you guys have any questions about the job site, about what's been going on social media, about questions, we can definitely talk about that. Okay, so less than 15-year-old house here. We have some brick, we have some stucco, we have some pillars, we have some wood trim, whole bunch of stuff. We're just going through and delicately and expertly sort of coating what we need to do. We're using a masonry specific coating, 2-coat process on all of the stucco that's never been coated before. Brilliant, brilliant bright white, or just off of that. We got a couple columns down here, and then entry door we're also working on too. So Got some mini rollers going, got some brushes going. Simple project, but technically, you know, if you use the wrong stuff and put it on in the wrong order, it's not great. And keeping everything clean is paramount, especially when you're up on black shingles and the like. So yeah, just came to check on these guys. They'll be finishing this project and I'll usher them off to another one today here. Okay, so before we get to the contractor question of the week, I thought I would go over where I was last weekend. I was in tropical Cleveland, Ohio for the AST, Advanced Shop Talk. There is the PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, and they meet once yearly for the National Expo. There's a couple different offshoots of them. They're called forums. There's Residential Forum for residential painters. There's the Craftsmanship Forum, where I assume we'll talk about paint. I have not been to one yet, but I'll actually be speaking at one later this fall. There's a Commercial Forum, and I believe that's it. There might be another one too, but that's as far as I've got with them. But they are more specific groups, offshoots of the PDCA, where you can drill down on some more stuff. This last weekend happened to be the Residential Forum. They call it AST, Advanced Shop Talk, and there was, I don't know, somewhere between 50 and 80 of the finest entrepreneurs in the United States as far as house painting goes, there to share experiences, going in depth as you possibly can. So it was basically, you know, 3 days of 16 to 18 hours a day of how do you do this, why do you do that, here's what I do, here's what you, I mean, it's this forum where you basically just bounce everything off of each other. And we got a lot of industry reps there to give us some stuff. Jeff Winter, from Sherwin-Williams, he was there. He gave us some semi-proprietary market data that he was doing, and it's a breath of fresh air, because everything that we feel in the field, his company echoed from a 10,000 foot level. Wonderful, wonderful information. Could not be happier with that. So I went to this. Yes, I had to put down, you know, my crews for a couple days. I set them up on other works. I went to Cleveland. It's a little bit of time, a little bit of expense to get out there, but I came back with about a 43 item list of things that I'm going to implement over the next 2 to 3 years. 3 of those I've implemented the day I got back. The biggest one being what I call a one sheet now, where on every job I keep track of, you know, obviously job costing, man hours, paint, tape, rollers, everything else. But it's always been for me, and you know, a third of that was always in my head, and I've always tracked these things. Every job since I've been a contractor for the last 10 years has had a numerical value assigned to it, and it's not net profit, it's not gross profit, it's a numerical value that I tried to come up with to give just a job a number based on, you know, time and expenses and revenue and things like that. And it's been doing good, but it's been an internal sort of review method. I wanted something where I could tell my people how did the job feel, how did it actually perform, and not only how did it perform, because I expect a lot out of my apprentices, how did it perform kind of on a nationwide average. So I took what most people in the United States would consider as a production rate for their painters. I used that in my calculation, and now we assign ourselves, there's 3 outcomes. You have a positive number, you have a 0, or you have a negative number. A 0 is at least the national average of all that. If we do plus, we perform better than the national average. If we do negative, obviously less than the national average. And then we figure out why. Was it me? Did I select a product that was maybe too expensive for a project? Did I price the project incorrectly? Or did you guys knock it out of the park? Or were you lacking in your processes there? So this morning we had all apprentices on deck. We had all 10 at breakfast. Took them out to breakfast here, and I brought out the first 4 to 6 one sheets that we've done this week. It was my experiment. I just got back Monday. I immediately put these one sheets into action, and we did our first company review openly about these one sheets, and we sort of discussed, well, why was this one a plus 101? Why was this one a negative 39? Was it me? Was it you? Was it a combination? Was it something, you know, that we need to tweak in the process? Excellent, excellent thing. Immediately we found 10 things we need to change about the one sheets to make them better. We're going to do it, and we're going to move forward. But it's things like this that, you know, talking with other contractors will immediately do. And that's only one of the first 3 things that I implemented. There are another 40 things that I would like to implement over the next 1 to 3 years. So huge, big changes. Some stuff's low-hanging fruit, some stuff's not. But It's all valuable. So, okay, contractor question of the week. This comes from PDCA National this week. They relayed it to me. A contractor got a hold of them and it said, Nick, it looks like you brush most of your exterior work. Why not just spray? I realize that my methods, having learned with the restoration of old houses, old farmhouses, things like that, I've always learned with a brush, partly because the person who taught me thought it was the better way, but partially they were dead scared of any technology. The person who taught me doesn't own a computer, doesn't own a cell phone, doesn't own a GPS, does not know how to use a computer, and doesn't own a sprayer. So you have to take that into account that yes, it's a really good method, but he was missing out on a lot because of ignorance, and there's no excuse for a lot of that stuff. So when I started off on my own, immediately you look around and you say, well, 95% of all professional painting contractors spray all the exteriors. And so you say, well, there must be something to this at least. So I started experimenting with it, and it turns out there's a lot of good places for spraying. I'm still a believer in hand brushing exteriors. I don't do it because I am a stick in the mud. I find that there is actually a niche for this. In my first year or two of contracting on my own, I just continued whatever I had learned before, and immediately I started making improvements off of there. But I now realize that there is a particular niche for this, and if you've ever seen a house, cedar siding that's been power washed, maybe sanded, maybe not, sprayed with a coating versus hand brushed, it's a completely different looking house. Now, you can alleviate this with a lot of prep, making the wood smooth so that the coating can actually get in there. You can do it with, back brushing, back rolling, but the problem is that when I query my Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams reps, readily they will tell me that there's maybe, they call in 200 to 300 contractors. On one hand, they can count the amount of exterior contractors who actually back brush or back roll. And something interesting to for me to see over the years is that 5 to 10 years ago, you would see a lot of technical data sheets that explicitly said back brush, back roll, this and that. Recently, a lot of that stuff's been going away. So I asked my reps about it. Have we changed? Have the coatings changed? This and that. And they still all recommend that if you want to spray as much as you can possibly spray, they still recommend back brushing, back rolling the first coat, and then second coat you can go over the top and spray it. So there are instances where I never poo-poo any of that stuff. Lord knows I have 8 sprayers myself, and I love using all of them. Used my HVLP this morning on a project. So I'm not against all this stuff. I just know that I really find that there is a very large quality gap between only touching a sprayer and only touching a brush. Now there's a lot of stuff in between. My crew right here is using mini rollers on stucco because I find it's a good happy medium between the two. Brushing is sort of arcane and way too slow. Spraying, I still feel like you'd want to push it into this uncoated stucco. So this is a happy medium, and it's a small enough project. They can just hop up there with a mini roller, and in 20 minutes they can knock out a dormer up there. So I don't know how much faster a sprayer would do, especially when you're surrounded in a valley of black shingles like that. To me, a little too much risk for the reward there. But just know all my industrial, a lot of my commercial finishing, dry fall finishes, steel buildings, industrial steel buildings, agricultural steel buildings, I still spray those readily. No back brushing, back rolling. Number one, because there's really no pores in that stuff in metal. It's a solid surface, there's no pores to fill, you just spray it on. And number two, obviously, you're going to get, a lot of these industrial coatings don't cover if you try to brush and roll them. They're made for sprayers. So in all those instances, and including all my fine finishing, when you have cabinets, woodwork, furniture, things like that, no need to back brush or back roll because you want a smooth finish. And really, if you're doing your job right, there should be no pores to fill on that. So my kind of thinking on that, I hope that helps out. And number two, the large portion of that is marketing. My company name is Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration. I consider myself a decorator in the 1800s sense of what a decorator is, and what right now in the UK, Ireland, Scotland, things like that, what they call a decorator is what we call a painter here, but they do a little bit more sometimes. They sometimes do some plastering, some wallpapering. As we understand it, in the Midwest from the 1800s, you would call a decorator to your house, and he could paint your roof, paint your siding, do gold leaf, hang some wallpaper, fix plaster, paint your furniture, help you with colors, mix their own paint. Basically anything aesthetic to the house that didn't involve carpenter, he did. And I like that. I really think that even in my business, if I don't do a lot of gold leafing or wallpaper, I still think it's good to be proficient in it because it informs all other areas of your business. And you never know when you're going to find this unexploited sort of niche where people need something done, can't find anything to do it. And if you're a young progressive person who would like to, you know, squeeze every drop of knowledge out of a subject like that, that might be available for you. So I consider myself a decorator in the 1800 sense there, and I like doing all that stuff. So I think every little bit of that informs one another. So let me walk through, see if I missed anything. Okay, next question here, and in a little bit I'm going to scroll through and we're going to go through any questions here. So Jay, another friend of mine here from New Prague, he had wrote me during the week. He has a pressure treated fence that was just installed. His carpenter said it's really wet from the lumber yard and there's a lot of moisture content in it. Should he wait 2 weeks? Should he wait till fall? Should he wait till next year? And my thoughts are sort of, well, we're going to weigh this lesser of two evils. Is it imperative that you stain this fence soon? Can you sleep at night if this thing stays bare for a while? If that's a concern, we can find a way to stain it there. You wash it with TSP, you scrub it, maybe give it a sand, a week or two of maybe drying in the air, and then you can coat it with a penetrating stain, something that will not form a film and peel off if there is a lot of moisture, something that will maybe breathe, a new hybrid stain, a water-oil mix. Whereas, you know, maybe a pure water base or a pure oil may have a more tendency to sort of, you know, not fully adhere. Some of the new hybrids do fairly well. But if you can sleep at night, and if you're a patient person and you can wait till next summer, I think that would obviously be the best. A lot of this lumber is probably not coming from Minnesota. It's probably being shipped up from the south or from the far north. And I assume it gets milled, it gets sent down, and obviously these lumber yards don't want to pay the money to store it for 6 months for the homeowner's good, so they want to move it as quick as they can. So a lot of this stuff might still be acclimatizing itself to the area. So if you can go through this summer, give it a Minnesota winter, and then come next spring, there's going to be this sort of like equilibrium with the moisture in there. You will never get rid of the content moisture in wood. You're really only looking for 15% or less. If you have way less than, you know, 7%, it's actually a problem. It's too dry. It's going to suck things up the wrong way. It's going to take on humidity differently. If it's more than 15, obviously you want to get that moisture out of there. So I carry a moisture meter in my truck, and it'd be fun to actually track, you know, the percentages, the day they put it up versus this fall versus this winter and then spring. But honestly, if you can wait, just wait till next spring. Give it a quick wash just to get any residual dirt off, any chemicals that might have leached to the surface, and give it a good penetrating stain, Jay. And thanks for the question. I do appreciate it. Josh from Georgia, we actually just talked this last couple days here, and he was tasked for a very interesting project, and one that raised every red flag I have, and I had to borrow some red flags from a neighbor and from another. It was basically, if you could come up with a nightmare scenario for a painting contractor, this was it. He was called into a bar. Somebody had just on the cheap, this bar owner had got a crew to come in, obviously not a very experienced crew, to basically repaint all the woodwork in this bar, you know, window sills, frames, rails, things like this, all this old woodwork. And it was fine. 6 weeks later, it's peeling off, like deep flakes of paint and everything. And the history of it was, you know, obviously it was clear wood finish first, most likely a polyurethane and oil, something like that. Somebody had used a oil paint then over it, which stuck fairly well, you know, oil over oil, that's fine. And then this last crew came in with just latex wall paint and painted all this woodwork, and that's where the disaster started. And the owner asked this young contractor, Josh, he said, well, listen, just use some of that lacquer. Lacquer dries really hard. Why don't you just spray some lacquer over it? That'll be a nice hard surface. It'll encapsulate everything. And, you know, to me, if you could come up with a nightmare scenario, you got clear wood finish, you got oil paint, you got latex paint, and now you're adding lacquer on the top. And above that all, there was some very interesting constraints on time. You got to come in at 2 or 3 in the morning, and it's got to not smell in here, and it's got to be perfectly ready to go the next day at 11. And also, we can't spend a lot of money, and it started adding up, and it's like, man, if on paper I had to create a nightmare scenario for a painter, that is it. And obviously this business owner didn't learn their lesson with this last painting contractor. Absolutely not willing to shut the place down, especially for lacquer. I mean, my lord, you spray lacquer in that place, you're going to know it for days after that. So, you know, I had basically counseled that, you know, you really, not only do you have to manage the owner, but you have to manage their expectations, and you just have to tell them that lacquer on top of this is basically just horrible on top of horrible on top of horrible, and it really should be all taken down. Now, you can patch them up and fix it, and you can basically say, okay, we're going to stop the peeling, we're going to do all this stuff, that's fine, but understand what you're getting. If you want this done right, we need to shut this place down for a bunch of days. We need to get rid of this peeling paint, because otherwise, you know, theoretically, if a little bit peels, 100% of that is going to peel. So it's one of those things where it's like lesser of two evils. In the past, I would have either said, okay, I'm going to help this person out, I'm a good person, let's do it, or I would have just turned it away. Now, I take a sort of mediated approach where I put all the emphasis, all the skin in the game to the owner, to the client that I'm doing. I'll give them two options. Here's what it looks like if I just fix you up now, I work within your constraints, we do that, or here's the way you do it right, and give them two options. Then they can decide. Do they want something less than perfect, which if they make the decision, hopefully they would understand they're getting something less than perfect, or do you want it done right, and in that case the expectations are high. All you have to do is meet them. Because what usually happens with these projects, just going off ratios of people that have approached me like this, is they will say, listen, just do it for cheap, but they will still expect that very high price, very high end sort of finish like that. And even though they tell you that's fine, just get me through, you know, work from 3 in the morning to 11, that's fine, they will still complain about smell. There will be a whole bunch of you know, garbage left in there, cups, plates, cigarette butts, this and that, and that's something that you won't look forward, you won't foresee. So then you'll be cleaning before you do that, and then all of a sudden your window keeps shrinking and shrinking. Then all the customers will complain about the smell, and then it kicks back to you, and then, you know, 6 weeks later again something will peel, and you can see how this goes. So I make the client make the decision then after that, and that's way more of a sort of people management project than it is an actual painting project. The painting should be a given. So Josh, thank you for that. I mentioned my door spraying preview for next week. Be looking forward to that. It's this beautiful lake home a couple minutes from my house here. I will spray Epiphanis onto this door, and like I said, I haven't decided whether to remove it and do it out in their yard, or hang it in place and show you how I do it when it's actually hung in the house. So let's scroll through some questions here, see what everybody's on their mind. Mary, thanks for watching. Mary Hart. Juliano Alcantara, my good friend, thank you so much, sir. Gustavo, thank you for watching as usual. I hope you're enjoying your Ask a Painter shirt. Richard Heilman, another local contractor. Excuse me. Liam Chesters, thank you for watching. Thomas Crumbless, appreciate it as well. Universo de Pintura, as always, thank you for sharing the post. I do appreciate it. Joel Wolin, thank you for watching. David, welcome. Another local fella here. Atef, thank you for watching. DJ Gilder, thank you for watching. The great and powerful Chris Shank. John Busick, I appreciate it as well. Brian Alba, classmate of mine here. Tyler Hansen. Nick Seabald, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Christine from the PDCA. Yeah, Nick paints it. If anybody wants me to, or to see a method I do or something, I'd be happy to do it. Just hashtag it, Nick paints it. Mark Johnson, the historic restorationist, thank you for watching. Nick makes a video soon. Yeah, Nick and I are in talks about possibly doing a video here. Mark Bartushek, another local fellow, thank you so much. Herman Puente. Josh Martin, thank you for watching. Zamir, I do appreciate it. Mary's down in Farmington. Cody. Excuse me. And everybody, thank you for sharing the post too. That's how this stuff grows. I do appreciate it. Johan, thanks for watching. Manuel. Marcus Mayer, thank you for watching. Wayne Kaufman. I do appreciate it. Johan Luis, hello friend, we're here in Brazil watching, and yeah, you people in Brazil are getting after it with this Ask a Painter stuff. I do appreciate it. I get a lot of interaction during the week, and if I had some more time, I'd brush up on my Portuguese and we could converse a little better. But you guys are a very ambitious group down there, and the movement that you guys are all part of there is just an amazing thing, and sort of echoed by the PDCA here. So. Katie Herman, thank you for watching. Dawn Odenthal, I do appreciate it as well. Sue Marple. Mohammed Yunus, oh, from Iran. Boy, we're getting all over the place here, aren't we? Marsha Bass, another local client of mine. Angela Sebastiani, thank you so much. Casey Wilcox, another local person here. Henry Vanderveer, thank you for watching. Steve Dowd. Jasper Drywall and Painting, and if you guys have any questions, just go ahead and type them in there. We'll get to them here. Lawrence Hill, thank you as usual. Douglas Trurin, Pat Johnson, thank you as well. Tim Asselton, Joe Elmore, Phil Goffrey, Armando Rivera, thank you as well. Jesse Krennick, Waleed Almi, thank you for watching. John Poling, Tom Musel, another local fella here. Kelly Chadwick, thank you for watching. Gabriel, Rick Skluzacek, good to see you on there too. Liam, totally agree. Got to backbrush and back roll on exterior work. If you don't, it will peel and won't penetrate. Yeah, that's mainly the case, and it's one of those things where, you know, because I'm in the vast minority of that, I never really poo-poo it, but I've just seen stuff so much better by brush, and if you can market it that way and people will pay you for the additional time that you're explain that you're going to spend on their house, I see it as kind of a win-win. So Jim Callahan, frequent watcher, the Mug Club member as well. Britt Elizabeth, thank you for watching. Steph Young, Larry Tenesi, Wanderley Primo, thank you for watching. Jeff Tuma, appreciate watching as well. David Downs, Dustin Zupancic, a very impressive young fella. I just had the opportunity to meet up in Cleveland. He's from Toronto, or excuse me, Vancouver. If you don't follow Dustin, Instagram, Dreamscape Painting, the projects that he works on are insane. The size and the scope and the quality, and guys like Dustin that make me want to get out there and improve my methods. So Danny Airy, thank you as well. Danny, what did I miss? That's a good question. You tell me when you chimed in. Dale Lynn, great talking to you last night at the New Prague event here. Joe Elmore, I saw your post about stripping a front door. How much time do you allow from start to finish to refinish a customer's front door? From the second I roll up in the driveway to when I roll back out, for stripping, it's about 90 minutes usually, depending on the intricacy of the door. Most of the time I only do one side of the stripping. I'll finish both sides if they like. The interiors are usually just fine, maybe a couple scratches from a dog, but you know, it depends on how many times the door's been monkeyed with. Most of the doors I get are less than 20 years old, still have their factory finish on them, and really haven't been messed with a lot. I find that my finishes, I have yet to strip one of my finishes, but finishes like mine and products like mine are very difficult to strip sometimes if they're applied well. So one of those things. So basically it's a 3-trip process. You come and strip, you let it dry overnight. The next day you sand it all, prep it, shop vac it off, tack rag it off, first coat of sailboat varnish, and then you again dry overnight, come back, same thing, sand it down, vac it off, tack rag it off, and second coat of sailboat varnish, usually with the weather stripping removed so that you can shut the door and secure these people's houses overnight. This afternoon I'm going to pick up another door from a historic home in town here, and I'm actually going to take it to my shop because they have a way of securing their house without it. So that'll be a nice one to actually put in my shop. I can come in early or late or whenever I like doing that, and the homeowners don't have to mess with smell. So basically, you know, if you consider your 90 minutes and your, you know, half an hour for the first coat, half an hour for the second coat, you don't have that much time into those things. It's just the skill that 90 minutes and that half an hour and then half an hour is super concentrated effort, experience, and knowledge of doing this before. So when I get out, it's like guys exiting a helicopter in a Vietnam sort of raid. When they come down, everybody hops out, everybody knows their job, they get right to it. There's no fumbling around, there's no experimenting, it's just right to it. So I'll scroll back up here. We're getting a bunch of questions, so I will go back through. Joe, I hope that answers your question here. Chad Merriam, another local contractor. Vicky Kubish. Ray Goody. Ray and I were in Afghanistan together. It's good to see you, Ray. Dustin. Thanks, Nick. I'll save you some sanding the next time you're up in Vancouver. I will gladly come and do a apprenticeship under you for a day or two up there, Dustin. But I do want to spray a little bit using your markers up there. So, Ryan, thank you for watching. Brandon Moore, always good to interact with you online there. Tracy, thank you for watching. Brandon, what's your process for teaching apprentices how to cut in with a brush? I stand over them and correct them everything they do, from dipping it into the bucket to wiping one side to flipping the paint towards the thing. I basically just start them from, I like to walk them through the whole process. It's not just brushing on a wall. I will take a bedroom and do the whole bedroom start to finish. You know, everything from here's the room we're doing, here's the color we're doing, here's the finish, let's move the furniture, let's lay down drop cloths, tape everything off, switch plates come off, and then we start patching, then we start sanding, and I want them to think globally too, because everybody's always concerned about, oh, what about cutting, what about this and that. Cutting is a very small portion of it, but when I do that, I basically stand right over their shoulder, say, nope, do it this way, nope, do it this way, nope, do it this way, and very quickly they get sick of hearing that and they conform to it. So basically the learning is in the doing, and by the end of that first bedroom, I really have found that these people are basically able to, I'm going to rotate this, I got a little sun flare in here. At the end of their first bedroom, these people are basically on their own. Then it's just process improvement and getting them to actually produce after that, because they're so careful. You know, the proverbial hitting the ceiling when you're not supposed to is on their mind, and you want to ease their mind about that and just have them produce then. So, and usually after 6 or 8 bedrooms or bathrooms worth of cutting, it's basically muscle memory then. What the goal to get my apprentices to do is basically show up at a job site, adjust to the particulars of the job site, but then it's robot mode. iPod, earphones go in, and you basically just plug away, and you can't help but do the right way, because it's just like the Army in boot camp. They drill things into you so many times that it's the more painless way to go through life is to just do it the way they tell you, and do it the right way. So that's what I do. I hope that helps out, Brandon. Danny, what's your favorite penetrating deck stain? At least here in Minnesota, and I'm sure nationwide, the Cabot, either the semi-solid, the new hybrid stuff, or I can still get the oil. Wood tone deck and siding stain, used to be called Clear Solutions. I love that stuff. Sickens is an awesome brand. I believe it's PPG Prolux now. Everything is being combined and changed, but those penetrating stains, I've had really good luck. And like I always say with decks, and you know this, Danny, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but half of it is, will the customer maintain it, and the other half is doing it right, you know, washing it, chemically treating it, stripping the old finish, sanding, cleaning, applying in a saturating sort of way. And then after that, it really doesn't mean anything, you know, if the homeowner doesn't maintain it. So coaching the homeowners up on what they should expect with maintenance is just as important as doing it the right way. So I would, and I've had this sort of, you know, would you rather question of, you know, would you rather have a homeowner that maintains their deck yearly or semi-yearly and use a lesser stain, or would you rather have somebody who calls you once every 8 years and gets the $200 a gallon exotic, you know, hardwood stain? And I would always side with a lesser quality material, but the homeowners out there getting after it and maintaining it, or having me do it. So in the long run, that will be a better thing. Joe, awesome, thank you. No problem, Joe. Liam, have you ever used Technos European Company? Great exterior wood products, highly recommended. Send me a link. I am tracking down about 5 different sailboat varnishes right now. And sailboat varnish to me is just a moniker for, you know, any exterior clear finish that's made for fine finishing, front doors, furniture, things like that. And I love tracking down this stuff. Definitely let me know about Technos though. Dave Bastier, thank you for watching. Christine Kolb, thank you for watching as well. Shane Sexsmith. What do you know about Ready Seal? I've been using it recently with great results after a recommendation from a friend with a lot of experience. You have to send me the link for that too. I've heard the name tossed around, but if I haven't heard it about at this point or know where I can find it, it's usually either a regional product or a very specific product sold somewhere else. I'm not opposed to finding it, but you know, I'm very versed in the stuff here that I can find regularly. Send me the link for Ready Seal. I'll do a little research, and if I can get some here, I'll give it a try for you, Shane, and let you know. Let me kind of know what specific products you use too. So, all right, everybody, that's it for me today. I'm getting after it again. I got to go get another door to restore. I'm going to make sure these guys are doing what they need. Probably check up on the crew over in St. Benedict. And my power washing guy should be back into town shortly, and we'll kind of reconvene and talk about his projects. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the PDCA for putting up with me, and we will talk to you guys next week. Remember, door spraying demo early next week. Talk to you guys later.